Welcome to the Duncan Duo Radio Show, hosted by Andrew Duncan, the official real estate agents of the Tampa Bay Lightning. As Tampa Bay's top-selling real estate team with over $3 billion in sales and thousands of homes closed. Sell your home with ease, guaranteed in 14 days or they'll buy it. Visit theduncanduo.com. Here's your host, Andrew Duncan.
So a lot of stuff happening in Tampa real estate right now, but I want you to save the date for June 13th. We have our annual appreciation party on the 13th, and I want to make sure that we invite all of our listeners. So you are invited. We'll have the website link up on all of our socials. We don't have it available yet. I think in the past we did DuncanDuoParty.com, but that may be the old, unless he gets it set up really quickly.
URL, that'd be great.
I mean, no, we have the domain, so I think we'll probably use DuncanDuoParty.com and it'll go to that. But if you check it and it's not there, wait a couple days and it should be live. But DuncanDuoParty.com should be what we end up using. And so again, our annual appreciation party, it's at Amalie Arena. We're gonna have street hockey. It's benchmark now. Josh corrected me. I'm so used to it. It's been at Amalie Arena for 10 years, and this is the first year at benchmark, I think. So, but nonetheless, DuncanDuoParty.com. Would love for you to be there. We're gonna have street hockey, lots of fun events for kids, family-friendly event. Also, VIP locker room tours, which I think is probably one of the coolest things about it. We've not done that before, so I'm really excited about that aspect of it. Josh, you want to share? Josh is actually coordinating and planning it all, so you want to share a few more things that we're doing there?
Absolutely. So on top of all of the ball hockey and then the obstacle courses for the kids, it's going to be basically split up down the rink. We're going to do the VIP locker tours, and that is awesome just because we've never done it before.
Yeah.
And for all of our hockey fans and listeners that love the Lightning, it's great to see the behind the scenes, not just the locker rooms. We're going to see like the areas where they train and where their spouses all hang out watching the games when their husbands are out there on the ice. So I think it's really cool.
And I heard also that we're going to get like some backstage access and a few cool stories about things that have happened at concerts in some of the backstage areas. So,
I'll take it.
So yeah, I think that'll be kind of cool. We'll have some giveaways. We'll have Lightning merch like we do to give away every year. Free food, obviously. It'll be from 2 to 5. Again, that is Saturday. Is it Saturday? It's Saturday. June 13th. So we would love to see you there, again, at DuncanDuoParty.com for our annual appreciation event. And look, that is all of our clients, past clients, our listeners. If you're a real estate agent, you're invited as well. We'd love to show you a good time. So the real estate market right now, we're actually in I talked about this a couple weeks ago on the show. Our real estate market is almost like a story of multiple markets at once. Because when people hear, Tampa real estate this or Tampa real estate that, they think it applies to their property, their neighborhood, their condo, right? And we know that like our real estate market, different than in years past, because of some things that have happened, has segmented off into kind of little segments, so to speak, almost like markets within a market. And it's the same thing with the stock market, right? You've got tech stock, oil stock, financial stocks, retail stocks. And there are days where it's all down and it's all getting killed. And then there's days where some of it's up and some of it's down, right? Yeah. And the same thing's happening in Tampa.
Same thing's happening in Tampa. I just saw, a recent article. I was doing some market stats with the team, and, there's a huge amount of job growth in Florida. And specifically Tampa Bay area, I saw a 20% increase on the map. So when you hear all these doom and gloom news about, Florida market's taking a hit, Tampa's not really seeing that.
No, it's not. And so we've also got the anticipation of potential relief on HOA fees. There's some legislation that's happening that's going to give people some relief on HOA fees and costs. And then secondarily, the likelihood of massive property tax relief, which is there's people, and again, it's kind of like if you watch any market, right? The market moves in anticipation of the news. Mm-hmm. So when they know there's a probability, a high likelihood on poly market that Florida is going to see a property tax relief, people start to move ahead of that, right? They say, no different than if NVIDIA has their earnings that are about to come out, and people think that it's going to, and it was just the other day, but it was going to go, the stock was going to crazy, they're going to beat everything, and then people buy in anticipation of the news, trying to win before the news happens. Well, the same thing happens with real estate. Now, it's certainly not as short term. It's very long term because it's going to be a while before there's that impact. But people are buying and they're jumping off of the edge now to buy because of the likelihood of that.
Right, and it makes sense. I mean, I think we always talk about it. We can go with the rates. We talk about property taxes, but if we see any type of decline, if we got the property tax that goes through, or if you decline in rates, can you imagine the market, what it's going to do?
Yeah, it's going to skyrocket. And so there's people moving in anticipation of that because they want to get in before that happens. Yeah. And I want to talk about the different segments of our real estate market, because when you do hear like Tampa's up or Tampa's down, it can really be misleading. And the same thing, like if you're watching, the national news and they say, oh, Case-Shiller came out with their index and home prices across the country are down, 9% this year. Well, they may not be in Tampa. Right. They may be, and they're relatively flat in Tampa. They're up a little bit. But the point I'm making is that it's because there's different segments of the market. And we've never had this so much segmentation between the unique things that happen in different products of real estate, like condos. So I'll give an example. Condos, because of all of the HOA stuff and the engineering reports and all the challenges that come with owning a condo, because the condo market is rough. It's rough. You're seeing depreciation in most condos in Tampa Bay. Now, open, direct, waterfront, brand new luxury, maybe not. But the majority of condos in Tampa Bay are not performing nearly as well as single family or townhome. And it's because of those unique things about Florida with insurance and flood and all those things are oversaturating condos and pulling prices down.
Correct. Well, it's just simple supply and demand.
Yeah.
There's just so much supply of condos right now. It's hard to, if you're trying to sell a condo right now, it's kind of tough.
It is. Yeah. And it's like you can't dream of overpricing a condo right now. You have to underprice it. Like you're literally, the supply and demand curve is so inverted. I mean, we get people that call us in condo communities and there are, 38 units available for sale and the same floor plan at 200. And they're like, well, mine's got all this. I want 225. It ain't happening, sir. Happening. Like it just is not happening. You've got to be like it's a price war and a beauty contest. You've got to be the nicest and the lowest price to be the next one of 38 that sells in the next 30 days. Like it's rough. And so and again, like I said before, real estate is still hyper local, so it's not every community experiencing this, but it's most condos. And then you look at the single family market, and let's just say you're in a community where they're still building. Okay, that market also really rough. If you have a home that you've owned 2 or 3 years and you're in a community and they're still building homes in that community, your equity is probably negative. It just is. The prices have dropped because the builders can give more incentives and they can operate on a tighter margin. They don't have the debt service that you do, and they can sell stuff cheaper. And it's brand new at that point, not lived in. So, we'll have clients come to us and say, well, I bought it 3 years ago. It should be up higher. It's like, well, the builder's selling the same floor plan for 10% less today than they were 3 years ago because they're okay operating on a small margin because they have to move the capital. Like, I understand that, what you owe, and I understand what you'd like, but what the market will bear isn't there,
It's true. We just had that situation pop up. Somebody bought for $679, I think 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now the same builder selling for $550.
Yeah, it's pretty considerable. So that's another segment of the market that's rough. Now, on the opposite of that, the positive side of things, you've got areas like South Tampa that are still blossoming and seeing appreciation. We're still seeing bidding wars. We're selling stuff before it hits the market. And if you climb the chart in price and look at luxury stuff, both in single family home and even some of the luxury condos, those are also performing incredibly well where we're seeing prices rise. Yep. So so when you hear someone say, oh, the average sale price is flat or the average sale price is down, it could be down or up or even because of the different things going on in the different segments of the market. Luxury, if a $2 million house appreciates 10%, that's going to throw off the average way more than it's going to throw off the average for the $400,000 house, where people look at the average and think, well, my $400,000 should be worth more now. No, it's just not the way it works. The average is pulled up by, a $17 million sale on Davis Island, or some other luxury sale pulls up stuff. And so the last thing I'll say is that you also have so you have this movement, I think, where Tampa Bay is expanding even more as well, where we're seeing, people moving out of the city. They got tired of the floods. They want to be in a more of a rural area. And so there's these different segments. So if you hear like, oh, prices are down or prices are flat, don't just assume it applies to your property.
Exactly.
There's a very good chance that it doesn't apply to your property, or the average is blended and deceiving because of the impact of a market that isn't relevant to your particular house. So if you want to know what's going on exactly with your particular house, go to duncanduo.com. You just type in your address. It's super easy. You type in your address, you hit get started, and it will allow you to have a dashboard that updates you on everything going on, whether it's if you want to stay up to date on your value. We actually have team members that can update your value based on improvements that you've made. You can see what's going on with foreclosures. You can be the nosy neighbor. You want to know what your neighbor sold for. You want to know what's going on, because when you hear the national stats or even just the Tampa stats, they may not be relevant to your particular property.
Correct. And that's what the news media does, doesn't it? Sometimes it feels like it just applies to me.
Of course.
It's a blanket statement.
It's super deceiving. And again, same thing. You could say, if you own stocks in 3 companies and the market's like way up today, and then you look and you got crushed because your 3 companies didn't perform like the rest of the market. Same thing with real estate. Your product may not be performing. I also want to make one last thing in this segment. I want to make a distinction between condo and townhouse, because people get those confused a lot. So they're massively different products. They're also treated differently and they perform differently. Condos, you don't own any of the land. Okay, you own and the easiest way to say it, because there's sometimes villas that look like condos, but they're zoned like a townhome. The easiest way to know is if it's fee simple. If it's fee simple, that means you own the land underneath your property. Right. Even if you're sharing a wall with someone, you are a fee simple. A condo is an undivided interest in the common elements. You're going to see that in the legal description. If you see lot or block in the legal description, that's going to be a townhome. Correct. If you see undivided interest in the common elements, that's going to be a condo. So a townhome performs pretty comparably in a lot of areas, especially when there's a lack of single family supply, a lot closer to a single family home than it does to a condo.
Absolutely.
It can get better financing. It doesn't have as many obstacles. But those are the 2 ways to tell the difference. And when it's the condo path, you get, all the challenges that are in the market that we talked about, but also challenges with financing.
Yeah, finance makes it more difficult. They're cracking down. I feel like Fannie Mae, and they're cracking down on all of the approval process. Sometimes we have to go non-QM, or we have to put more money down to get some of these deals done.
Yep.
Sometimes with these condos associations don't get approved.
And townhomes or villas that, again, are fee simple are much easier to finance. They can also get lower down payment loans because you own land, which the bank views that as a safer investment because it's less people to screw it up. Right. Condos, unfortunately, you are, in addition to being in business with the government for taxes and in business with your insurance company, you're now in business with the condo board that won a popular vote of probably 9 people that showed up to actually vote. Right. So like the number of people that actually vote in those things is pretty bad. So nonetheless, know the differences between the products, and I would encourage you, if you're looking between condo and townhome, I'm a firm believer that a townhome or a villa is going to perform better. But again, in some areas, all they have are condos. Like if you want to be on the water, you want a certain price. So we're going to continue this conversation after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. All right, let me see what I talk about next.
Back to the Duncan Duo Radio Show, the official real estate agents of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Top team in Tampa Bay, over $3 billion sold and counting. Now your host, Andrew Duncan.
So we're talking real estate like we do every Sunday here on WFLA News, and we're talking to home sellers right now. If you are a home seller, if you're selling your home this summer, or it's still late spring right now. It feels like summer.
97 degrees.
Yes, it feels like summer. So if you're selling your home this summer, you've got to price it right. Now is not the market to overprice your house. Unfortunately, there are far too many inexperienced agents giving people bad advice about price or accepting the seller's pitch on why their house is worth more than what the market says it's worth, right? Or the seller thinks that the things that they have in the house make it worth more. And the reality is buyers have more access to data than they've ever had. And if it's priced right, it will sell. And in some instances, maybe even sell fast and get bidding wars. If it's not priced right, you're running the risk of never selling. Because by the time you cut it, it may be even less. Correct. Like in a lot of neighborhoods. Now, again, you heard it in the first segment. I talk about how some asset classes are performing better. Like luxury, for example, is performing better than like a home in a new construction community. So every type of property is going to perform a little bit differently. But the errors people are making with price in a not on fire market. Right. Mm-hmm. If your neighbor's house sold 3 months ago, your house isn't worth more now.
No, it's not.
Like if they sold at 500 and it's 3 months and you want 525 and you have the exact same house, your house hasn't appreciated. This is not COVID years. Right. We're not seeing massive appreciation. What we've really seen is, maybe a little bit of appreciation, but it's not. We're not appreciating on the average in most neighborhoods more than inflation. It's not considerable. It's not substantial. So your home has to be priced aggressive so that it can appraise and so that it can check all the boxes that the buyer's going to do on the data to determine, is this property worth what they're asking for it?
Yeah, exactly. So the other thing is just like I'm always a proponent of preaching like time on the market is so key. We can see all the data every time I look at all of our listings and I go, okay, why is something a little bit stagnant? It's okay, well, it's because of this. We know 21 to 30 days to get that property sold. I think in front of everybody's eyes, you get the most maximum exposure there. When you're pricing it right, that property goes. We see it all the time. Even now in this market, if we price it right, that property is going. It's multiple showings, multiple offers. But when you're even a little bit, even 2 to 3% higher,
you miss it.
You miss it.
Everyone can do the math, and then you sit on the market longer, and people say like, well, I want room to negotiate. Anytime you say I want room to negotiate, guess what? You're not going to get to negotiate because the room that you're giving yourself is causing the person to say, nope, that's too high. Yeah. So every time you say I want room to negotiate, who you're negotiating with is yourself because you're going to be the high bidder for your house.
That's it.
No one's going to buy your house. And so what ends up happening is they give themselves room to negotiate. Let's overprice it by 25, right? Yeah. Like we do in the 80s, right? Like we're in that economy still. And then the house doesn't sell and then they lower it, right? And now they're just chasing. And now the buyers see that it keeps getting lowered and they're less interested in it because today we've never had a society with more vanity. Like people want what other people want. They want something that's cool and hot and trendy. They don't want to tell their friends that they bought a house that's on the market for 197 days. Okay. Their friends are going to look it up and judge them. Like everybody uses filters for everything. Like literally people can't even post something on social media without some sort of filter over it. They want to filter over their house too. And the filter over their house is they don't want a house that's been on the market for months and months and months. Right. And if you don't price it right from the beginning, in today's day and age with how people are trained with social media and how they think, you're toast. You're going to chase the market and you're going to miss it. And then by the time you get to the second agent, you've lost a bunch of money. And not only is the price dropped, but you've eaten all those months of insurance, taxes, mortgage, and you've lost all that time of not being where you really want to be. So the best advice I have to home sellers is rip the Band-Aid off. If you have a house that you're thinking about selling, you're like, man, I'd really like 500, but if I got 450, I'd be happy. Price it at 450. Don't. This is not the speculator market. You're not. And again, unless you have something massively unique, you're not getting a premium for it. And when I say massively unique, I mean like you have a $20 million property on 3 acres on Bayshore, and you're the only person over 2 acres. Then maybe a premium. Okay,
right.
But you're not getting a premium in a regular neighborhood. Right. Luxury. you can get sometimes there's things you can get a premium for. We just recently sold some properties. We sold a property that had a rooftop terrace that could see the water on Bayshore.
Yeah.
That got a premium, right? That's getting a premium because somebody wants that because they're not going to get it in something else with where the house was located.
Rare to find that.
Right. And so, but you're not getting that kind of massive premium because your granite countertops or the cabinets that you have that probably most of the people in the neighborhood have updated, right, and yours is really clean, and it just isn't working that way. You've got to price it aggressive.
You're telling me if I install that fire pit and
in the backyard
and laid every brick by myself, that doesn't give me more money?
You're not making more money on your house because you put in that Home Depot homemade fire pit. So the other thing I'll say is, I don't believe with the access to data today that you can undersell your house with a good agent. Here's what I mean by that. If you've got a really good agent, if you hire us and we get an offer, we have a strategy. We have a plan. When we get that offer, we're trying to get other people to know that it has an offer to try and get them to compete. And we're taking our time with the response to that offer because we know other offers may show up. We don't want to just move quick and have you under contract in 6 hours because the other people may have shown up. So if you have a good agent with a good system that knows how to negotiate and you get an offer really quickly, then just be patient, because if it's worth more, the buyers will flock to it and you'll get a bidding war and somebody will potentially overpay. But the only way people are overpaying on property today isn't from you pricing it high, isn't from you having the greatest house in the neighborhood. It's from getting more than one person to chase it. And you're not getting more than one person to chase it if it's overpriced.
Yeah, you have to give the opportunity up for somebody to do that. And
yeah,
overpricing is never it.
No, and so again, price it aggressive. Mm-hmm. And, get the activity going. When the offer happens, be patient, counter it, go back and forth, leave enough time for more people to keep seeing that house, right? There's a timing and strategy aspect to it that I believe will ensure that you don't leave money on the table. Yep. Because if it's worth more, it's not what an appraiser says the house is worth. It's not what some damn website says it's worth. It's what will someone write a check for? What will someone give you money for? And if you put it out there and it's exposed to hundreds of thousands of people and gets thousands of page views and you only get one offer after a week, that's the market's way of saying, hey, this is what it's worth.
Guess what?
Now, if you put it out there and again, it's properly marketed, a good strategy, and it gets multiple offers, that's the way of the market saying the price might be a little low. We might be able to get somebody to pay more for this. Yeah. And they're more likely to pay more out of fear of losing it to somebody else.
Right.
So
how many times would you hate losing things out? Especially when we bid, right? You ever get on the bidding websites or
eBay
or stuff like that?
I've done that. And I've done it on cars. And like you go to Barrett-Jackson or Meekum and you see people way overpay for cars because it's one guy looking across the aisle. I'm going to beat that guy. Yep. And then he pays 20% over the car's worth. And the same thing happens in real estate.
Got to build it up.
We'll be back after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show.
And we're back with the Duncan Duo Radio Show, Tampa Bay's #1 real estate team. Over $3 billion in sales, thousands of happy clients, and official partners of the Lightning. Now your host, Andrew Duncan.
make sure to come out and join us for a fun day at Benchmark International Arena, formerly Amalie Arena. I keep messing it up. DuncanDuoParty.com. We will get the link set up. Hopefully it's set up by the time we're airing. If not, save that link and come back to it. But it is June 13th from 2 to 5. We're excited to have our team out there to share a fun experience with you, locker room tours, blow-ups, maybe Thunderbug. We've got cool lightning giveaways and some fun street hockey stuff for the kids in the arena itself. So make sure that you check that out. We would love to have you there. Again, DuncanDuoParty.com. We talked in the first segment about, we've talked so far about a couple things. One, making sure that sellers aggressively price their house.
Yep.
And we talked about the different segments of the real estate market between condos and single-family townhomes and then luxury, as well as in builder communities, kind of what we're seeing, the pros and cons of each segment of those markets and how they kind of blend into one whole market. Mm-hmm. And what I want to talk about next is off-market properties. And the reason why this is becoming more relevant is there's been a lot of litigation between major real estate portals and large real estate brokerages and their ability to market homes that they don't put on the MLS.
Right.
And so I believe eventually the MLS is going to lose that battle. There's just too much money behind it. MLSs are not a big conglomerate. They're all separate little entities all over the place.
Correct.
And eventually these large conglomerates with more money and Wall Street money and hedge fund money are going to win. And they're going to win because it's consumer choice. In my opinion, anytime an industry tries to assume their consumer is too dumb to choose to do something, they lose.
Yeah, they'll lose big too.
They lose big. You're behind the 8 ball there if you think your customer's too dumb. And I personally think the MLS take of having historically been against coming soon properties or properties being marketed off the MLS is very much a protection of their business.
Yeah.
I don't believe it is in the best interest of the consumers because I think it assumes that the consumer doesn't know any better. So is every homeowner just dumb? Are they all just a bunch of dumb idiots that only realtors can help them make the right decision and only the MLS is the best place for selling a home? It's flawed logic because there are plenty of consumers that would prefer a different path, mm-hmm. right? And I think when you eliminate the choice from that, it becomes monopolistic and predatory because if a consumer wants to not have their house be on the MLS and market it a more unique way, as a real estate agent, you should be able to deliver the experience that the consumer wants.
Yep.
And that's my belief. And so, when I see that, when I see these organizations in litigation over who gets to do this and what website it can go on, eventually consumer choice is going to win. Yeah. It's going to win there. And let me explain some scenarios. The homeowner that wants to sell for land only, and they want to sell to a builder, and they don't want it going on the market because they've got animals, and they don't want people showing up, and they don't want people driving by and calling on a sign. Okay, there's a logical one. Right. A luxury homeowner that has a very high financial risk. He owns a $20 million property, and it's pretty challenging to vet people to determine who has the financial viability, and he doesn't want someone coming in and casing his house.
Yep.
He doesn't want someone breaking. He doesn't want someone breaking something, right? So he wants to do a more controlled process. He doesn't want it exposed to the world. A celebrity, a famous person. Hollywood, Beverly Hills, they're known for this. Pocket listings. You know that some famous actor wants to sell their house. They reach out to 3 or 4 brokers and they get a deal done. The way the rules are written, that would be that, like if they signed any type of an agreement, it's got to go on to the MLS. And in my opinion, that is not in the best interest of every consumer. Now, isn't it in the best interest of most? Yes, it probably is in the best interest of most. But there are plenty of situations and scenarios where you take away consumer choice and you lose. And guess what happens to the MLS? Then you have companies, brokerages, or enormous entities mm-hmm. that say, we're going to do this if you're not going to allow agents to do it, and we're going to take revenue from you because now we're going to become an iBuyer, and we're going to just buy our own inventory, and or the brokerages that say, we're going to leave the MLS. The MLS's biggest strong pull forever was co-broke commission. And with it being gone now, this is like one of the last things they're holding on to try and control their own membership so that they can have enough people. And hey, maybe I end up getting fined from this, but the reality is that I believe in both agent and consumer choice. We're with LPT Realty that is all about agent choice and individual definition of success. If you're helping a home seller and their individual definition of success is not the MLS and getting the most money, it's a more controlled process, or it's selling it fast. They want it off the market. They don't want it. They're happy taking a little bit of a haircut because they want a quick sale.
Right.
They want a cash offer type deal, and they don't want it going on the market, so they want you to hunt for an investor to buy it. There's so many scenarios that in my opinion, this whole adage of, the best way for the home seller to win is it going on MLS is so flawed because it assumes that the consumer is just really dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
I mean, it is true. They expect that. They just think that, and we've seen it time and time again. We have clients that we've helped that don't want people coming into their house. They will gladly take that offer in and
right. And what you're doing by doing this, right? If a customer has that approach, and you don't allow the real estate agent to operate and earn that income from that sale because you're going to fine them or give them some regulation or have the part-time, don't sell a lot of business realtors complaining about it because they don't have anything better to do than sit around and waste time. What you're doing is you're taking away that agent's opportunity to earn income, and you're forcing that seller to say, well, I'm just going to go for sell by owner then.
Right.
You're torching yourself. And look at every industry that has tried to tell the consumer how to operate. Look at the stockbroker world.
Yeah.
Now, so if you were forced to talk to a human being and go through this whole, to buy a stock, I can go on right after the show and in 19 seconds buy a stock. Okay. And it used to be you had to go through a stockbroker and you had to do this and you had to do that and had this control process over it. Okay. That we're on like the last guard of control process over real estate. Same thing with travel. Right? You had to go through a travel agent. You had to do this. You had to do that. Right? You had all these handcuffs on you, and all of it was very anti-consumer. It was this assumption that the omniscient MLS and the omniscient realtor that gate kept the data knew everything, and we were the only ones that could. It is and the reality is it's flawed. Yeah. Now, do I think every single sale should be supported by a realtor? Yes, but I also think the real estate agent, just like it's preached at LPT Realty, having the individual definition of success, we should be focusing on honoring the seller's individual definition of success.
Right.
And if the seller's individual definition of success doesn't include going on MLS, we should have other tools available to be able to do that without the threat of we're going to fine you or you didn't have this out or you didn't have that out. If your consumer didn't want it, you know what I mean? Like imagine the industries that tried to do that and the organizations that controlled them almost always when they go anti-consumer choice fail.
It's kind of like Live Nation. Is it Live Nation?
Live Nation.
And Ticketmaster right now, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Look at that. Like, how many concerts have canceled? They've announced like all these new headlining tours, and they've canceled because the rates have gone so crazy.
Yeah.
When you've taken the choice away from people.
Correct.
So people are going to start. This is how you answer. You say, "Oh, well, I'm not going to do it then."
Exactly. And we've had sellers come to us and say, "Well, I don't want to go on the market, but I want you to help sell it. Bring me a buyer. I'll pay you and do your marketing and do all that." And then you deal with the MLS Gestapo, like fining you because of this or because of that. And it's like, this is what my customer wanted. Okay. Like this is what my customer wanted. And you're not allowing me to represent my customer. You're assuming the customer doesn't know better. And again, there are times where the customer doesn't. But in today's day and age with AI and the amount of data available, this idea that every real estate home seller is naive and unintelligent and uneducated and doesn't know about real estate when they can access the same data we can is just, it's blasphemy. Like it's like there's no reason for that not being in the toolbox of every single realtor out there. So anyway, back on that topic, if you are looking for something off market, like if you are a home seller, we have buyers in our database. We have a massive database, over 200,000 people, and we can actually go into our database and search for people that have looked at homes that match your home and then try and target market to them. That's definitely something we offer for sellers. And we also represent buyers. Not just investors and sellers, but we represent buyers looking for off-market opportunities because we'll have sellers that will come to us and say, hey, I know you can't sign any agreement because the MLS, Nazis are going to come and they're going to come and like,
where's your sign at?
Exactly. They're going to come out and attack you. Where's your sign? Here's your fine. All the nonsense. I know you can't sign anything, but if you bring me a buyer, then I'll sign something. And so we go into our database and we start looking for opportunities to find deals for customers. So we're regularly putting we're regularly putting home sellers and home buyers together on off-market opportunities. So if you have a really high-end luxury property, that's another one. I mentioned it before. You've got the $20 million waterfront, and you're thinking about selling, but you don't want it marketed the same traditional way. You don't want signs out there. You don't want people knowing that your house is for sale. You don't want people knowing it's vacant. You don't want people to show up and know that you already moved out. And so those are things that we can help with. Again, we have to be very careful about what we can and can't do to market it at this point. I think eventually, my personal belief is eventually that all goes away. Like I think it's going to have to. Now there's certainly some disclosures. You've got to sign something maybe to say you're sure that you're not, whatever. But I think this idea that any biased body, truly biased, because their earnings come from how many members they can have. So they want to make sure to provide as many opportunities to their members. Mm-hmm. But I think they're working so old school that they're not thinking the opportunities they're losing by being so, non-consumer choice.
I agree. I think they're just going to shoot themselves in the foot. We've seen it time and time again. The last couple of 3 years now with everything on the lawsuits.
And you see, I even saw recently an MLS in Illinois. I think there's some sort of MLS feed getting cut to Zillow. There's the tough part that people don't understand is some of the things that the boards of realtors, the MLSs did. You can't roll them back. Okay, you're not going to be able to roll back Zillow. It's too late. Okay, you missed it. Yeah. You probably needed some better negotiators in that deal way back in the day. Yep. And they had better negotiators, and now they've proven their concept, and they have enough interest from consumers. You're not rolling that back. And in fact, in my opinion, that is a detriment to those consumers, right? Again, consumer choice.
Right.
I firmly believe that most consumers are educated enough to make that choice, whether they want to do it or not. There's enough data and information available to them. We don't have some massive gatekeeping on the data anymore. We just don't. It's out there. It's so easy to find. So the point is that the consumers should be able to make those choices for themselves if they want to do that. Should every customer know? Should there be a disclaimer? Yes. Mm-hmm. Should most customers go on the MLS? Yes. The vast majority of them should. But there are unique situations that I think there needs to be some opportunity to still have the realtor be able to earn an income and represent those people and specialize in that without having this threat that they're going to get turned in and they're getting policed and
right.
This kind of governing body over them, over operating a business, doing what their customer requested.
Exactly. The mysterious phone calls that come in. Hey, we heard about this property. No, you didn't.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Almighty. So anyway, you're listening to the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. We aren't on air. Hit us up on all of our socials at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. Again, at The Duncan Duo. And come out to our annual appreciation party, June 13th, 2 to 5 p.m. at Benchmark International, home of our Tampa Bay Lightning. You can RSVP for that at DuncanDuoParty.com. We'll be back after a quick break.
Back to the Duncan Duo Radio Show, hosted by Andrew Duncan, official real estate agents of the Tampa Bay Lightning and the team that guarantees your home sells with ease. Visit theduncanduo.com right now. Here's Andrew Duncan.
Hopefully you're enjoying your Memorial Day weekend. This week is always a cool week in Tampa for the military. We have the annual military display that happens on the waterfront. And I was working from home this week, and I saw the caravan. They all left from the Bayshore gate because they're going up Bayshore to do the special operation that they do, like the display where they're using helicopters and Blackhawks and, the Rangers. And it was really cool. I didn't go to the actual display this year, but I did get to see all of the equipment, and I got to see the Blackhawks flying over. They were actually practicing out in front of my house on Bayshore. They were they were swinging out in the water and stuff. That was what I was talking about. Yeah. So it was kidnapped. It was really cool. It was super neat to see that. And the thing I find that's interesting about Tampa Bay is people don't realize how big of an employer that MacDill Air Force Base is.
It's massive.
It is the largest employer in Tampa, and we are a military town. We just are, and so I'm super proud to see that. Obviously, this weekend we're celebrating those that that have perished and. And it is cool to be in a city like Tampa that I feel like is a very patriotic city. I feel like we're very pro-military, and seeing them and knowing everything that's going on in the world right now and where our military has been at risk and where we've had casualties, and then seeing this display, it was a really cool thing for Tampa Bay to see that. It reminds me, I feel the same way about the air show. Mm-hmm. The air show that we do is like a really neat thing. It's like a great display of our military strength and patriotism, and I think we need more of that today.
Man, do we? It's so funny. I remember growing up, and I still anytime you hear the national anthem, it's still you watch it on TV, you start crying.
Yeah,
it's I think the one real quick. There was one thing I remember was the Whitney Houston one back from the Super Bowl in Tampa way back in the day. And it's just you look out the audience and the patriotism that was there. We were totally missing that, I feel like.
I think for sure. And again, I wouldn't say from everyone, but I think there's no question it's missed. It's not as prevalent. And I'll give an example, so when I look at it, I mean, I have, family, my father served, and so, I've always just been that way. And where I live, very close to the base, I hear taps at night. I hear it at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, too. 10 o'clock, too. Is it 10? I know it's 5, and I think it's 10. I believe it's 5 and 10. I know I hear it multiple times a day. Yeah. And I've almost tuned it out because I hear it so often. Yeah. But it's when I'm out in the yard or I'm doing something in the garage, and I see the the people, and they hear it, and it's very patriotic. We live in a great city. The other thing that I would say that I think it's missed about that same kind of, patriotic is we're seeing less international travel. And look, I know the economy is tough, and I know there's some people that can't afford to do it. But when you go and experience and see other countries, like Cuba, for example, okay, my girlfriend's mother is in Cuba and fell and broke her hip, and it is what I've heard so far in the couple of days since it happened is a travesty in terms of how to get her the care that she needs and get her operated on and get her fixed and get her better compared to what it would be like and the care she would get in America. And I think so many people here don't appreciate what they have because they haven't seen what it's like somewhere else.
They haven't lived without it.
They haven't lived without it. They haven't gone to a country that truly is like a third world country. They've, and I wasn't in the military, so I didn't get to see some of the stuff our soldiers get to see. And but I did go to Cuba. We did. We went, we saw her mom. This was, earlier. Was it maybe a year ago? Yeah, it was maybe a year or maybe a little less ago.
Worried if you're going to be able to get out, actually.
And now it's a challenge to go because all the, the potential military stuff. But going there made me so grateful for what we have. And I think we would see a massive civics lesson if people had to go and visit, another country, almost like, I've heard people talk about a civil service should be required. I think what should be required is you should be required to go visit a country that's not as well off as ours. And I think you'd have a greater appreciation for it. So if you're a parent out there and you've got a kid that's not been to another country, I think one of the best parenting things you could do is take your kid to one of those areas. We did it. We took our daughter to we went to a children's home in Cozumel and volunteered multiple years, and it's in a really bad part of Mexico. And we took her there so that she could see, hey, look, this is what you get if you're not. This is be grateful for what you have. Yeah. And obviously I've been to Cuba. I've been to other areas that aren't very well off. And I think it just makes you more grateful. And so living in Tampa and seeing our military, knowing the things that they do, and then getting to live, like in such a beautiful place that's in for all intents and purposes safe, compared to the rest of the world. You
really
can go
is.
and get groceries. You can order stuff to your house. I mean, like, we can't even get stuff shipped there. We can't, it's nearly impossible to get money there without this huge amount getting, scraped off of it. There's things that we can't ship certain things. They can't have certain medicines. Like, it's wild what some of these countries are like. And when I hear this hateful rhetoric towards America, when it's from people that are either too young to have experienced other times or other societies, or they've just not been and seen what else is out there. So it's like, oh, our country's so bad. No, it's not. Go to Cuba and then tell me how bad it is.
Yeah, I was talking to a family member one day, one that was in Cuba and came in later, and he goes, "You were born here, so if anything, you have the best lottery ticket that you can ever find right there by being born here in the United States."
Right. People don't even realize it.
They don't realize it.
And I went and I saw people fighting over chicken. I saw people fighting over fish in grocery stores. It was unbelievable what I saw. It completely changed me and made me so much more grateful. And I think, again, that would be a huge thing, I think, to get more people more patriotic. So anyway, we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you have an awesome Memorial Day. Keep supporting our troops and enjoy, hopefully, a nice time with your family, and have an awesome rest of your Sunday.